All right. As a solopreneur, food business owner, do you have a reference for strengths finding? Limited funds, want to see best where to spend on talent and hiring to fill the gaps in my strengths. Yeah, great question, Jessica. And I did there is a program called DISC, DISC. And that's a great one for strengths finders. And then there's also Jim Collins as well. But those aren't necessarily like for CPG, but I think it would give you good insight into kind of your general strengths as a human and like how you interact with people. I mean, the reality is that we can break a business down into some pretty basic categories, right? Production, sales, and marketing. Those are probably your main three. And then within that, we're going to have some subcategories. Obviously, social media is one. Your website, doing sales into grocery store, if you're doing Amazon or something, or e-commerce or other marketplaces, somebody who's kind of handling that. I guess production and shipping, right? So getting the product to the customer, as well as then the manufacturing. So typically people know kind of where their strengths lie in those categories. And if you don't know, you'll probably find out fairly quickly. So I guess I would just look at it like, where do you most enjoy spending your time? What sort of energizes you? And I bet if you made a list, I mean, I'm a big fan of like tracking your time, like even for a few days, like writing down how you're spending your time. And then also maybe make a note of like what feels really fun and energizing. And then what are those tasks that you're like dreading? You're like, oh, one more social media post, right? And maybe there's something you really like in there. Like maybe you love making the recipes and doing the photography, but you don't want to do the actual posting and monitoring and ads or things like that, right? So I guess I would just kind of, as a solopreneur, we will wear all the hats, of course. We have to wear, when we start, we're typically wearing all the hats, and I get it. I'm a solopreneur for the most part. Just recently brought on Dina, who's on here, who's helping me in my business. But that took 5 years before I could bring in somebody. So I totally get it. You're like your own bookkeeper, you're a social media expert, your content, the website, the shipping, you wear all the hats. And so I get it. It's a lot, but I guess I would just say, I do really think that the sooner you can be doing high value pieces in your business, the better. And so I have never regretted investing in help. It has always made me better and always given me more, as long as you're intentional about it. So as soon as you feel like you have even just a little bit, where hiring somebody to help you with social media does not need to cost a fortune, right? And there are ways to do it where maybe you just hire somebody for 5 hours a week, right? And if you could pay them, like maybe it's just a college student, right? who you can train or something like that, somebody who can do it, on the side. Let's say you're paying them $20 an hour or $15 an hour, or whatever it is. Like if you can free up some time in your business to be doing a higher level activity, like getting your product into stores where you're making more than $20 an hour, that's always a win. And sometimes you're going to have that dip. Most of the time, you're probably going to have that dip where you're paying out more than what's coming in. But if you can turn that around, maybe in like 3 weeks to a month, where then you can see benefit on freeing up your time and being able to focus on some higher level, more income driven activities, then it's going to be well worth it. So That's always my recommendation. A lot of times people will shed social media, bookkeeping, sales usually comes later. I say that you really need to be in it for at least the first year, probably the first 3 years of doing your own sales. It's really hard to pass off sales to somebody else. And I personally think that when you're just starting out, there is no better salesperson for your product than you. And that might mean we're going to have to get over some fears. And that's something I definitely help people understand the script and how to follow up and how to be more confident. Because I know a lot of people get really scared approaching buyers. Totally natural, totally normal. But I personally believe strongly that you should be your own salesperson for quite a while before you pass that off to a sales team, inside or outside, or a broker team, something like that. But I have no problem, social media, bookkeeping, and even production is a great area that you can pass some of those things off.